witches, welcome back on my channel. So, a couple of weeks ago, or should I say months, somewhere in between both, someone commented on one of my videos if I could review their podcast. So it took me a while to get to do it. It always does, but I always do it in the end. I don't think I replied to them saying that I was gonna do it, but anyway, I'm doing it. So today I'm gonna be reviewing their podcast. It's called Pagan Coffee Talk. This was on YouTube, so I'm gonna watch on YouTube. I also found them on Spotify, so if you're more of a listener, I mean, I guess that's what a podcast is. You listen, but I like to watch sometimes, so you can find them on Spotify. But they're also on YouTube with 36 subscribers only, but they don't really have a lot of videos. I think they started 4 months ago, so that's not bad. I'm gonna be listening to their latest episode. It's called The Death of Ego. That ought to be interesting. I like that it's a little shorter than some other podcasts. Usually podcasts are like 45 to an hour long. This episode at least is 30 minutes. So yeah, I'm gonna be listening and I guess cutting it a little bit. So if you want to listen to the whole thing, I'm gonna link the video below. Like, I could have listened to a couple of episodes before that and just told you, oh yeah, this is nice, or it isn't. But I like to do it, you know, with you. Let's listen to this together. So, The Death of Ego.
Welcome to Pagan Coffee Talk, a traditional Wiccan podcast where we will discuss topics affecting the pagan community from a traditionalist perspective. The topics we discuss are picked from our magical hat and the discussions are unscripted. The talks will be led by Lady Keegan, second degree priestess. She's joined by Lord Chase.
So first of all, I'm on YouTube, but there's no video. There's like images. So it'll be like a regular podcast experience. I'm kind of just staring at my laptop for no reason, but I guess it would be weird if I just stare in silence at the camera. So I don't know, so far I don't know if I like that, but I'll just pretend that I'm doing something else and listening on my phone.
Pagan Coffee Talk is brought to you by Life Temple and Seminary.
Welcome to Pagan Coffee Talk. I'm Chase Knightsmith, and I am here with Lady Keegan.
Oh.
That's right. Lady
What's that
Keegan.
laugh about? And that was kind of an awkward laugh, just like silence.
Well, Lady Keegan,
Yes.
what is our topic today?
Ego.
Okay.
What is ego?
Why did he sound so disappointed? Okay. All right, let's talk about the ego, I guess.
And what is ego death?
What is ego what?
I have the definition for ego. Basically, the basic definition is a person's sense of self-esteem or self-importance. The psycho definition is the part of the mind.
Excuse me, the what? The psycho?
Uh-huh. The psychological, the psychoanalysis.
The psychological. Okay. Not psycho like the movie.
Right. No. Part of the mind that mediates between the conscious and the subconscious and is responsible for reality testing and a sense of personal identity.
I like the second one better.
Me too.
Because, well, I mean, I know people sit there and go, hey, you know what? His ego's getting in his way.
Yeah.
That ego isn't ego. That's arrogance.
I agree.
It's still the ego.
To me, that's something else. So, yeah, if you're trying to make yourself more humble or whatever, yeah, I can understand you wanting to kill this off. But if you're wanting to kill off your actual ego, that seems almost like a death of part of your personality.
Mm-hmm. Or is it even possible?
I really don't think so. I mean, because I've always viewed the ego as more of that, it's our mask. It's what we actually show everybody. It's not our real selves.
Are we aware that we're wearing this mask?
No, this is what translates that kernel or the id in ourselves, that subconscious, that part that's really our core of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I think it translates that to our reality.
I should have taken coffee for this. This is why I say that I need to I like to watch them when they speak, when they're filmed, because it keeps my attention. my mind's just like drifting off, and I'm like, wait, what was he saying? So that's already a downside, but so far I'm liking it. Yeah, I'm just gonna say so far that I'm probably gonna subscribe and listen to the other ones too. At first I was a bit thrown off because I don't listen to a lot of podcasts. I like listen to like 2 or 3 podcasts. At the beginning I was a little bit thrown off by the sound quality, like unless it could very much be my earphones. But it sounded a little bit like there was a bit of wind and like a little bit of static in the sound, but I got used to it right away. But at first I was like, ooh, this is gonna be annoying. Like, am I gonna be able to listen properly? But I can. It's just my focus that's not there. Okay, let's keep listening. Focus.
If you were to kill off this ego, this would leave no defenses for that id inside of you, if I'm using id correctly.
I don't know what id is. Oh.
Would you like me to look up the definition?
Yes, why not? Let's make sure I'm using this correctly.
This is according to Freud. It is the personality component made up of the unconscious psychic energy that works to satisfy basic urges, needs, and desires. Unconscious psychic energy.
Right. So this is the part of our brain that cannot handle this reality, or part of our personality.
I think that's all of my personality for me. I cannot.
Let me get geeky here for a moment.
Oh, would you?
I laugh. Sorry.
Yes. We think of the id as a processor.
I think I'm tired.
All right.
A processor inside of a computer, right? Now, that processor can do tons of calculations, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
But for us to access it, we need an operating system. The
Good
interface
analogy.
with it.
That's good.
Right. Because the processor cannot understand us directly, and we cannot understand that processor. It's the interface to actually who and what we are. It has to translate that to things that are understandable in this realm.
That's exactly what Freud says ego is.
Right. So if you destroy it, it would actually put the id at odds with the world and would probably shatter.
Like the newest fad is working on and wanting ego death.
Well, I think what they're talking about is the ego, like the first definition that of arrogance,
Self-esteem.
which to me is completely different. With real training, meditation, and all this can be accomplished, that you start to realize you're insignificant compared to everything going on around you.
Well, Carl Jung says that ego death is the complete loss of self-identity.
Yes.
Why would you want that? Even in the witch world, why would you want that?
I have no idea. I mean, if anything, I've gotten to this stuff because of the opposite reason.
Exactly. To find out who you are.
To find out who I am, to be more of an individual,
Yeah.
to not be part of the herd. To a certain extent, yes, we do lose our sense, especially when you're dealing with the covenant stuff of more traditional covens. You do lose a sense of identity, but you don't.
If you think of Harry Potter and you're, well, I don't know. Oh, God, what can I say? There's so much
don't
stuff.
know.
It's like I can't say that.
Yeah, we're dancing around some stuff
Right.
here. We are dancing around some mysteries here.
It's hard. It's hard.
We got to be careful. We need to read off the repercussions, which goes basically, our oaths basically come down to the fact of if we reveal these mysteries or anything, we give up any chance of a future life and our lives here, and that all the powers and tools at our disposals will turn on us.
Is this still about Harry Potter?
But for those who sit there and go, oh no, you shouldn't do that, you should tell us, blah, blah, blah,
Yes, tell us.
you got to imagine what in the world we would be giving up.
Wait,
Well, and it's not permanent. You can know these answers.
what are they talking about? I'm so confused right now.
Yes, you do lose a piece of yourself when you join a coven, but you also gain more of a personality. To us, and this is what I teach, is there's a difference between knowing something and understanding something.
Oh, this is taking me back to a bad philosophy class in university about Hegel and Verstand. If you know, you know. If you don't, stay in the unknown.
So once you understand your emotions, that means you can manipulate your emotions to your advantage. That also means when you're mad or you're angry or you're acting arrogant or whatever, you understand your own psychological reasons for doing that.
Not always.
Right.
Not always.
And trying to suppress those emotions and stuff like that is just asking for trouble. Or trying to destroy them is asking for trouble. All our meditations basically wind up pushing us to keep on digging deeper into our own psyches.
Oh, yeah, there's no way around it. Do you still work on your ego, just your ego? Is that something that you have to do or that a person has to do continuously their entire life?
Yes, it's sort of like we deal with our issues as our subconscious and conscious realizes that we are ready to deal with those issues.
Why do we do that?
Well, if you think about it this way, okay? Let's say our brains are hoarders. And if you've ever watched the show, the hoarding shows, you can understand how bad this can get.
Yeah.
To the point of where these people cannot even get out of their homes. If our heads are that way and we hold on to all this nonsense and trauma that really wasn't trauma or whatever, it will block our way from being able to access other realms and communicate with other things. How in the world are you going to communicate with your neighbors or your loved ones if you can't get out your front door because it's blocked by a bunch of stuff?
Yeah, I always liked that metaphor. It was always really good.
Basically, got to clean out your own backyard. You got to clean yourself up before you can worry about anybody else.
Right.
Because once you start to realize that process never ends, you don't have time to judge anybody else.
So you would think that the dealing with your ego helps you spiritually.
Yes.
Not just, oh, I'm a better person now, but on a spiritual level.
It gets stuff out of the way to allow communications with higher planes of existence. It gets the muck. It removes the stuff from your doors and windows.
So if you could acquire ego death, and I don't think it's possible, but hypothetically speaking.
See, I'm getting a little confused here because, like, so far it's interesting, but I've been getting lost a couple of times, but then it's jumping back about talking about the ego, and then I'm like, okay, I'm back. There's also so much I don't understand.
You would just have your id?
Yeah. And what would that look like?
Yeah.
Well, look at people who are catatonic. There's nothing physically wrong with them.
Yeah.
This is where you have people that
Let's
have
get to
psychological problems whose, whole grasp on reality has just gone completely away.
It's broken.
Broken, shattered. The whole ego has shattered to the point to where it don't work no more. Because you got to understand what your ego's doing. Your ego's there to protect you.
Yeah.
It is part of that fight or flight thing. It's going to protect your id at all cost.
Oh, yeah.
We're using one word. We're using the psychological definition of this.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And everybody else is using it to talk about that being cocky or whatever.
Yeah, but why are you being cocky? To protect yourself.
So it's either getting them to understand that we don't know what in the world they're talking about because they're not using definitions, or they are literally trying to do this.
Which scares me to death to even think about ego death. Seems dangerous to me.
It is. You don't want to kill it. I mean...
You don't want to kill it.
You want to understand it. You want to work with it.
Is meditation the only way you can deal with your ego?
I'm sure there's other ways, but most of them are mental things here. If you're like meditating, lucid dreaming, or even remembering your dreams. Dreaming seems to be where you have your id and your ego kind of communicating. That's why I think sometimes our dreams are a little bit messed up because your ego is trying to talk to your id and your brain's trying to translate to where both sides understand.
Which would be why a lot of times if you dream about, anything, sex or anything like that, well, it means you're looking for affection or you're looking for this, is because it's the way your ego and id are going to come together and go, okay, so this is the dream because this is how you're feeling. And we wake up going, what was that about? You just need a hug. That's all.
The meditation we do forces you to look at these two things inside yourself.
Yes, it does. Continuously. It's not. You have more stuff to face. More stuff.
More stuff. Here, do you remember when you broke that lamp when you were 12?
Let's talk about it. Think about
Let's talk about it. Remember when you thought it was a good idea to throw knives at your sister?
We're going to chew on that for a while.
We're going to chew on that for a minute. Well, that's what your id says, and then your ego kind of pops up. It goes, yeah, but didn't you see how well we threw those knives?
Right. That's exactly what happens. Ego goes, yeah, but look, we look great doing it. My God.
Now, I mean, we could be wrong with this. If we are, I guess let us know, but this is where I'm seeing this. About the death of ego. I see if somebody's able to accomplish it, they would be some catatonic person just sitting there drooling on themselves.
Well, like I said, the definition from Carl Jung is the complete and total loss of self-identity. That doesn't scream healthy to me. I don't know why people would seek it. I'm confused.
I am too.
But see, I think that these questions she's asking herself about ego, that is the ego talking, being like, why would you want to get rid of me? I don't know a whole lot about ego. I'm just adding that in there, but like, what do I know? I think if you lose your ego, you just understand a lot more that you're part of something else than what this reality is. But it is useful to have your ego for survival, because that's what it's there. That's what they said. It's there to protect you, but it's there because like back as humans, we had to always be in constant survival mode, right? Hunting to eat and all this stuff. So like the reason we're so fucking anxious nowadays, even though we've got all of our basic needs fulfilled, or for most people anyway, it's just the ego trying to like fight off everything, it's just like still in constant survival mode. Why was I saying that? Oh yeah, anyway, so all these questions, it's sort of some anxiety surfacing, being like, why would you want to get rid of the ego? Like, why would you want to get rid of your identity? It doesn't mean that you don't have another identity on the other side. And what tells you that your identity that you have now, okay, now let's take a deep breath before I say that. What tells you that your identity you have now is your identity? I'm just gonna leave it there to reflect on, because like, what tells you that who you think you are right now is who you are? If I were part of that conversation, that's what I would say. That would probably then go into a spiral of existential crisis, and so would everyone else. But I would keep reminding myself that it's only the ego having an existential crisis.
Where does shadow self come into play on this?
Shadow self is just your darker half, to me.
Would that be part of your ego as well?
Yeah. We all have a dark side of ourselves. Growing up and all this, I was around people who had Down syndrome. Mm-hmm. And these can be the sweetest people in the world.
Sure.
Yeah.
Even they have dark thoughts.
Well, they're people.
Oh, yeah.
They're people.
Oh, but that's not it. The shadow self is everything that was ever repressed as a negative emotion. But like the bad emotions, you suppress them, they stay in your subconscious, or every bad experience, and they become the shadow self, and they drive you. It drives you.
The shadow self seems to be another big...
Right. The ego, I think they're talking about that is people and their own self-importance. I think that's what they're really trying to accomplish, but they're using the wrong wordage here.
Going by the definitions that I've been looking up.
I don't know. I haven't spoken to anybody about this.
Do you want to? No. Do you want to speak to somebody that's had...
Well, I mean, if they did, I'd probably have more questions than I do answers to start off with.
Isn't that the point of a conversation?
Well, I guess we'll see everybody.
Okay.
Go misbehave. Run amok.
In love and light.
Thank you for listening to Pagan Coffee Talk. I hope you join us next week.
We travel down this trodden path, a maze of stone and mire. And so it is the end of our days, so walk with me till morning breaks. And so it is the end of our days, so walk with me till morning breaks.
I kind of had forgotten already that it started like this. I've been enjoying the music at the beginning and the end very much. I enjoyed listening to the conversation as well. I don't know if there are always only two people talking. I think it would have been nice to be several people, maybe with different point of views. I don't know if you can really have a point of view on that. I feel like there's something I'm not satisfied about. Maybe I would have liked to have a bit more of a description of what ego death would be, or like, I don't know, maybe just a little bit of, not research, but like now it makes me want to go down a rabbit hole and research everything about the ego, everything anyone has ever said about the ego, and like sort of piece it together, have an overall narrative. But that's just me. I guess I like to go down rabbit holes. I like to have every side possible. I like to take a bit of everything to make my own idea of things. So maybe I would have liked to have just someone else who just comes and pops some of their information, an article that they would have pulled up or something. I also was a little tired, and as I said, if I don't have a visual to focus on, I get lost. So that happened a little bit. So maybe that's why I didn't understand everything. But overall, I think it was quite interesting. I'd be curious to have a look at the other episodes. Let me know if you want me to go down the rabbit hole to find out about ego death or just ego in general. Or let me know if you would, I don't know. Let me know if you like this type of video. As I said, I'm gonna leave a link to the channel and to the video I watched down below. Why is my chair turning on its own? Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope I didn't forget to say anything. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you want me to do something similar like this again at some point, a review of a podcast. If you do have a podcast, I'd be really interested in listening to it or reviewing your channel, for fuck's sake. Will you not? Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe and like this video if you like this content. And I will see you next week with a brand new video. Say goodbye. In the meantime, you can follow me on all of my social medias to see what I do. Goodbye.